Hey you guys, in this video I would like to talk about food addiction and how I experience it. And because I've been asked to do it, and I used to have a video about about food addiction on my channel, and then I deleted most of my videos, and so I would like to redo this video anyway. And so this is about food addiction. Not meaning the idea of depending on food to survive, but rather the addiction of using food to modify one's moods, which is some form of substance abuse too. And it's very rough because um, it's a fact that we all have to eat to survive. Um, so the way I would like to explain it to you is, if you don't know anything about it, or you would just like to hear somebody else explain how they experience it, um, I would like to start off by saying that everybody is or has chosen a way to deal with life. Some can do it completely without any crutches, without any vices, but for most of us, we choose we choose ways to deal with life. That's just the way it is. Um, some, when you have problems with, like when you have strong emotions about something like anger or sadness, it helps some to talk about it. Others use sports to release tension or, get the energy out of their body. Others use alcohol. They drink for every occasion in their life. I used to be one of them. Or use drugs like recreational drugs or prescription drugs or whatever, or um, over-the-counter drugs to numb their feelings. A lot of people dive into the internet or video games or watching TV to distract themselves from life or to get a break from their emotions. Others seek release from emotional stress by being addicted to sex. I was one of them for a while, but most addictions never stuck with me because I don't know if that's related, but I read before that it is. I'm a Virgo, and not because of being my zodiac sign being Virgo, but because of my personality. Not a lot of addictions stick. I try everything out, and then I, you know, go overboard with some things, but hardly anything sticks. But the food addiction is one of them. Um, there are those that have made it their coping mechanism to take their disappointments, frustrations, or other emotions out on people around them, like the team leader at work that I had to deal with, or the IT guy that I talked about in my previous video. Um, People that are just, they're moody, and they're they 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 come at you verbally, or they're always on, verbal collision course because um, if they can provoke another person, then they can have an argument with them, and then it goes back and forth, and it helps them, and which is, in my eyes, a very horrible addiction, or a horrible way to deal with your own emotions. And then there are those that gamble as a way to escape reality and play with the adrenaline levels that way. Others have a shopping addiction. I borderline that sometimes when I think, gosh, I gotta, reward myself for making it through this week. I mean, I don't do it every week, but and then I get myself another purse or another shirt or whatever, but I don't do it excessively. But there are people that have a heavy duty shopping addiction, which means that they always need the adrenaline rush of purchasing things. But then they realize that the feeling doesn't last, the satisfaction doesn't last, and so they have to keep buying more stuff. And that leads into hoarding or whatever. There are so many disturbances in the force when it comes to how people deal with their life. But each one of us has to make their own decisions, and some of us deal with things that are really hard to shake. Um, so there are many healthy and unhealthy ways to deal with life. There's one that is visible to others when you have it, and that is the food addiction. I don't look at food addiction the way the internet defines it. I'm gonna put here what I'm talking about. I found that not so, fortunate in describing what a food addiction is, but I guess it's a matter of, perception, like who is talking about it. If a doctor talks about it, he probably uses um, different terminology than I would, since I'm a person that suffers from food addiction. And I'm also I'm not when I say food addiction, I'm not talking about the compulsive overeating that people with binge eating disorder do. Um, and now that I've kind of built a frame of uh, what ways there are to deal with life, how many unhealthy and healthy ways, I would like to explain to you what food addiction is to me, how I experience it. So, when I was a toddler, I'm going to show you a picture here of that time when my mother told me that I would, it seemed that I was only happy when it was mealtime. I was a very grumpy baby. Big surprise because now I'm depressed. Maybe I was depressed at the time already, but it seemed like I was only happy when a meal was served or when I was being fed. And you know that most of us can't remember much from our childhood, and Dr. Bruce Lipton even says that up to the age of about 6 or 7, our consciousness has not fully come in, and so we're self-unaware for the most part. But we do have awake moments, and I had one of those when I was around 6 or 7, when we were at a family reunion, and we would frequently have it in this city. And it's not like people from all over the world would come to join it. It was just the extended family here in the city would come together at my grandmother's grandparents' place, and they would always have food catered. Not because we were so rich, but because they didn't want to go through the trouble of you know, having to prepare the food, and every one of us bring in something. Maybe somebody forgot something, and so they just didn't want to worry about it, and so they just had a catering company bring the food. And I remember every time we were at my grandparents' place for such a reunion, I would overeat. And I had no idea what overeating was. And at the time, I wasn't necessarily, overweight. Um, and so I would eat and eat, and my stomach would hurt, but it tasted so good, and I kept eating. And I realized that certain foods make me feel good afterwards. I feel more energetic, or I'm not so sad, or whatever. And that became stronger and stronger over the years. And I don't want to get into it here, but some of you know that I've dealt with addictions like smoking. I still smoke up to this day. I drink coffee, which means I'm addicted to caffeine, um, and sugar because I put sugar in my coffee. Or what else? So, and alcohol. I had some other addictions, but the food addiction's been going on since toddler age. That I didn't just see a meal as a way to feed my body, to sustain my body, but to also eat to modify my moods. Like when I was sad, I would go down to the store with my allowance and get myself chocolate. And I didn't know why. It just made me feel, better. And at the time, I couldn't drink coffee because I was a child. And that kept going. And I never like overate, like in the like what we know as binge eating now. Like eating, 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 and then I also didn't purge. But I would also eat when I'm sad or when I'm happy. I would, eat a slice of cake, just because I was happy and that needed to be celebrated. Like not just me, but within the family too. Like every time there was a celebration or there was a death in the family, there was always food, everything was always like, ooh, seems to be the way to deal with things, to eat food. And it just kept going. And while I was addicted to alcohol, I didn't gain so much weight, but I had two marriages that went really wrong, and some other things happened, and I felt myself going to food every time something really overwhelmed me. Like, I'm a strong person, I can deal with a lot of things. I mean, just the fact that I'm a receptionist for such a large company and I don't lose my shit every single day is probably proof that I can take a lot of stress and challenges, and I know how to deal with them. But when things go really wrong, I turn to food, um, and that means that you also eat when it's like you can't even say mealtime anymore. What is mealtime nowadays? It's not breakfast, lunch, dinner anymore. When you work weird shifts, which I did the entire time in the States, or for the most part, you have to eat at different times. You can't eat when other people eat, like what, at 8, 12, and then at 6 p.m. Have dinner, but you eat at different times. And I used food, like the substances in food, to modify my moods. And I felt myself longing for different foods with the different moods that I was in. So let's say I'm depressed, and it's still the same up to this day. When I'm depressed, I want to have chocolate, something creamy, um, something chocolatey, never anything salty. And when I'm in a good mood, or when I'm just hungry, I long for the regular foods. I don't have a craving for alcohol anymore, but I don't really know how to explain that part, but there are two books, and I've mentioned them in other videos too. There are two books that really describe why we are craving certain foods when we are in certain moods. Like, I'm going to show you these two books again. They're both by Doreen Virtue. One is called Constant Craving, and the other one is called Losing Your Pounds of Pain. And in it, it describes that there's a relation between the substances that we crave and medications you could take for that. For example, there are certain things that are in antidepressants that are in chocolate. And so there's a relation between um, food and mood. But some people deal with it, like I said earlier in the video, deal with life in a different way. Like, something bothers them, they go for a jog. I grab a chocolate pudding, you know, and what it feels like is, and I've tried so much. I mean, I'm not going to get into the diets that I've tried over the decades, because I've not always been overweight. My weight has been yo-yoing, and this is not about my weight anyway, but you know what I'm saying. Like, there were certain times when I was skinny for years on end, but then I became depressed again because, for example, my marriage went down the drain or whatever, or I had a lot of stress at work, and then I would gain weight again. And so what it feels like is, let's say I'm really sad. Let's say I had a really stressful full day at work, and then I'm thinking, okay, I'm not gonna eat chocolate now. I'm going to eat a sandwich, which doesn't have a whole lot of calories, and it fills the stomach. And so I eat the sandwich, but it does not hit the spot. It does not satisfy the craving at all. And so there's this feeling. I assume this is what it must feel like when you're addicted to drugs and you want to get that drug again. Like maybe it's in connection also with the ADD that I have, and so the chemical imbalance in my brain that it craves certain substances, and if I don't allow myself these substances, then my brain keeps screaming for it. And it's not just the brain, it's also the stomach. And so it has to be, for example, chocolate. And I'm hardly ever angry. I'm, for the most part, and you can tell in my videos, I'm for the most part just disappointed about life. That's how my depression expresses itself. I'm just disappointed that things didn't go differently. And so most of the time it is chocolate. It has to be something chocolatey and creamy. And I know that it is not good for my body, but it is the only thing that satisfies the craving. And I do not think that it is a lack of willpower. It is a real addiction. And I know that they still have to do a lot of work on that because it takes patients that can really explain what is going on for for the research to continue. Like I know up to a few years ago they didn't believe that adults could have ADD, and now they understand that the ADD can carry on throughout the teenage years into adulthood. And with food, with eating disorders, and food addiction is one of them. I don't know if it's a recognized disorder. I do not care about all of that. If it's a recognized thing or whatever, I know what I'm dealing with and that it's real. And in order, like and so at the time I can't do anything but eat that thing. Sometimes it's a banana. Maybe I need what is it called? The calcium in it, the potassium. Calcium is cal calcium is the German word for it. The potassium in the banana, and so I have to have a banana. And then if I eat an apple, it doesn't work. It does not work at all. So my body knows exactly what it wants, but since, because of my ADD probably, or me having depression anyway, like I don't know if I would be a depressed person if I didn't have ADD. I do not know. And so I don't know how it would work then, if it would have to be certain foods or not. But I know that I cannot do much about it because it's a feeling of almost like going insane or starving. That's how intense it is. It's not a lack of, well, of course it is a lack of willpower, but it's because the feelings, like the disturbance in, the chemical imbalance in the brain is so strong that there's no other way for me to deal with that. And so I don't eat a whole lot, but I eat the wrong things. And since I'm depressed a lot, you can imagine that, for example, chocolate puddings, and I have an empty cup of one sitting in front. I'm not going to show you, but that's what leads to an increase in caloric intake. And if then I don't make sure that I move a lot, then I will continue to gain weight. I've been able to maintain my weight for a whole while because for a few years leading up to me coming back to Germany, I was consistently gaining weight. And I thought, what is going on? And I was, trying to Google it, and it was like, yeah, when you're going through the change or whatever, you might you might gain weight, or it's harder to lose weight because you lose muscle mass when you get older, or and So they blame it on age or the change or all kinds of other things. And I thought, okay, or maybe it's my thyroid. And so I had my thyroid checked out, and at first they said I have Hashimoto disease, and then I didn't. And so should I take the thyroid pills now or not? It would, So basically, I've been to the doctors, to several experts, and they said I should lose weight. But I also have to have my ADD treated. And when um, the chemical imbalance in my brain is not so intense, then I wouldn't feel like using foods to modify my moods. Or one of the doctors said, okay, so your brain is trained to get a certain chemical, like in your case, it's not drugs, or it is, nicotine and chocolate, for example. And caffeine, I also play around with that a lot because I know on my ADD brain, caffeine works reversed. It's a stimulant, just like nicotine is. And so I know that nicotine calms me down, coffee calms me down. It makes me feel more collected, like more eloquent, and that I can deal with even more coming at me uh, better than if I didn't have a cup of coffee. Do you know what I mean? But so that doctor said I should actually have my ADD medicated because that would stop, um, or at least make them less intense, my cravings for certain foods, for certain chemicals, because the chemical imbalance wouldn't be so great. And he said, but what you can also do is retrain yourself. And I've tried it and it kind of does not work. You guys know that I walk a lot, I move a lot. Um, yes, I work as a receptionist, but I don't sit the entire time. I have to walk through a very large building several times a day, and I move around a lot. I also distribute the mail and not bringing it to, different offices, but putting it in boxes. And so I have to keep getting up, and I do work out even at work. But the doctor explained it to me like this: I got my if I got my brain used to going for a walk every time I'm sad, then it would take about 3 weeks, approximately 3 weeks. This is what they say, how long it takes for a habit to form. Um, and so maybe after 3 weeks or longer or shorter than that, um, my brain would realize, oh, okay, so I when I feel sad, I need fresh air and movement. And so my brain would get used to that and would yell at me to move. It would tell me, okay, move because I'm sad, or we are sad, let's move. And he said, so the doctor said to me that I would actually have to do it as long as it takes to get to that point, to where my brain does not say, okay, eat, for example, a chocolate pudding or have a cup of coffee, but go for a walk. And I wished I could do it with the help of medication, but the problem is that I'm over 50. I do smoke, I do drink coffee and not decaffeinated. And so I do, and since I'm already overweight, I have to watch my blood pressure. It is not high, but it is on the normal verge, like the normal limit. Like it can't get any higher, otherwise it would be considered elevated. And sometimes it is elevated, but that is only when I think about things that, where I'm overthinking or whatever, or I think myself into a rage because I don't control my thoughts, which I'm trying to do with Eckhart Tolle, but totally different topic with, Eckhart Tolle, Jim Carrey, Doreen Virtue, Dolores Cannon. I'm trying everything to improve my life, to improve my being, my personality. And you can tell my ADD is bad today, but I'm trying to explain the food addiction, and if you look at how many people use really bad things to deal with their emotions, I think there could be worse things than using food. I don't harm anyone but myself, but at the same time, I wished I could have a different addiction, but not like alcoholism. Like I'm the kind of person I could look at somebody else and say, okay, so they're addicted to drugs, or they are anorexic or bulimic, or you know, you can tell. Like so many addictions, you can tell. Like so many different ways that people use in order to deal with life, or you can tell an alcoholic, you know, or a heavy smoker because they're all wrinkly and and you can tell. But people with food addiction, and I know that there are different reasons why people are overweight, and I know it also has something to do with our food culture worldwide now, why obesity is on such a rise. It has been, and it seems to be getting worse. But I'm still trying to battle my demons, and that is ADD, depression, and my body yelling, like really yearning for chocolate when I get sad, and I get sad a lot. And that is one of the main reasons why I am not losing weight, even though, and I'm trying to trick myself that way, like, okay, so I eat chocolate and I do smoke and I do drink coffee with milk and sugar in it. But to make up for it, I'm gonna walk a lot, or um, I'm gonna make sure at work today I get up a lot. I get up, I walk around. I move a lot. Sometimes I even do. Don't tell anyone. Not gymnastics, but kind of like exercises, like like moving left and right and working out my legs that way, even though I'm not walking, but I'm doing all kinds of things. But it doesn't seem to be helping when it comes to losing weight. And I'm not actively trying to lose weight. I'm trying to cure um, this addiction, and I can't. Not up to this point. But yeah, so this is what it feels like to me. I hope this helps you. If you have any questions, you can leave them down in the comments. Or if you're a private kind of a person, which a lot of people are, I understand, you can send me an email. My email is always in my description box. And so, yeah, I might do subsequent videos to this if I can help you understand something. I will talk about it in a separate video. But other than that, this is it, me and how I perceive and experience food addiction. So thank you for watching this, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Tschüssi. Bye bye.